maybe we can exchange some words about what it is today to run into a label, to manage a label, even if it's very small. How did you see things evolve for the last 10 years about distribution, about making money? Well, we're on a very small scale anyway. And what are your thoughts about, things like how music comes to us, because there is no more CD, more or
Yeah,
less streaming, all of this.
yeah. I mean, I've seen it change a lot. Like, even though like running the label is, I've never felt I've done it very well. It's something that came out the fact that I wanted to put out my own music,
Mm-hmm.
and at the point of having some music that I wanted to release, I didn't know anybody who would want to release it. So
Some sort of so DIY
yeah,
was
having
something. Yeah.
ingratiated myself into the DIY consciousness, I wasn't connected enough to find anybody who would want to release the music that I was making, but at the same time, I understood that there was the potential for me to release it myself. So I did that because it seemed like the only option available to me at that point. And it has never been my the point of releasing music to make money from it, and I really haven't. So it's been more the point to get the music out there than anything else. My first release was on cassette because it was the cheapest physical option
Mm-hmm.
available to me. I couldn't afford to put out a CD because, to get a CD made, I think the minimum at that point was 500
Mm-hmm.
copies.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't conceive of selling 500 copies, but I found that there was some sort of tape thing happening. At this point, it was like a little bit early on. I think it's, especially in the last 5 years, that tape scene has blown up tremendously. But at this point, 12 years ago, that was not so the case. Maybe in America, not so much in Europe. Um, but I thought, well, let's do this. I can afford to get, how many did I make? 40 cassettes and release it on Bandcamp and on a blog. And I've sold them all now. Only took 10 years. And then,
Yeah. Okay.
and yeah, I managed all the PR myself. And the next release actually did a bit better. I think I sold 10 on the release, and I've sold them all now. And I made them the error of deciding that for that release, I would hand paint every cover, which takes a little bit of time.
Okay, so this is really DIY. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But as a listener, also, don't you think that we have lost something in the streaming platforms? I mean, as a connection, or.
Definitely. And I'd say there is like a fundamental difference between streaming and downloading.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
agree. Yeah.
yeah, like when I was heavily listening to music, well, in my teens, like you only had access to like cassettes, CDs. Vinyl was really not that cool in the 90s. I didn't have a record player, but I did have a cassette player and a CD player, so that's what I listened to. But like when the internet came about, then all of a sudden you had like Soulseek, well Napster, and then Soulseek,
Mm-hmm.
and Soulseek really opened up a lot of stuff. I was on a lot of music forums listening to stuff. We'd do tape trades, um, you know. Don't copy music onto tapes because that's stealing music apparently, but we did that a lot. We made a lot of compilations for people, for each other on these music forums, and then we were like downloading tons, but still going to see a lot of bands play, still buying merch and stuff. And for me, there is this difference in like downloading that music and listening to it and engaging with it to streaming, and it's a difference in like your level of engagement. I feel like one is actually proactive and the other one is completely passive. And when you're proactive, you're looking for something, downloading it, and then having to re-engage with it by like selecting stuff to listen to. Whereas with Spotify, you just press play and Spotify goes off and does what it does
and make the playlist for you.
yeah,
Which
yeah. You open it and it goes, "We've made your daily playlist." I was like, "Oh right, a shit ton of experimental music,
which
straight there for my ears." I just press play and listen to it. This is nice, and it's just it becomes so background. It's not proactive anymore. You're not searching. You're not creating your own playlist. Which even when we were like, sitting there with CDs and cassettes and recording stuff onto a cassette, you're still like you're being very proactive, playing with the music, playing with the emotions and moods of a playlist. Whereas if you let an algorithm do it for you, like you've got no engagement, you've got no control over the music. You don't have the same level of ownership, I think, actually, of your own sound world. So, therefore, you're not connected to it in the same way. Like, you don't have the same emotional connection to it. And I feel that's what's really been lost. So, yeah, I do listen to Spotify, but I'm more engaged with stuff when I want to listen to a vinyl or stick on a cassette or something.
I'm quite reluctant to cassette. You don't have any backward feelings, or is it really practical? Because
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. Yeah, they're small. You can have like all sorts of interesting designs with the. I think part of it is like the cassette as an art piece as well. Like as a release, it doesn't have to just be this like little thing in a plastic box. You can do all sorts with it. But I just like a physical product to be able to handle it. And
yeah.
I think like running the small label, like for me, cassettes were the easiest way to represent the music physically.
And small amounts, so very economically, it's okay. You don't have to invest in five and yeah, I know. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean that was the principle behind me starting to release music on cassette. I mean, since that point, I went on to release CDs and vinyl, but even now, like I still release cassettes because I've grown to enjoy it as a format. But also, it's still about the economy of it.
So maybe you could tell us a few words about your last musical project, whose name is Abuses.
Abuses, yeah. It's been a long time since I played in a band.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Lost Harbours kind of had, it was me and my friend Emma, myself on guitar and her on flute and clarinet. But principally, like right at the beginning, it was just me, and she now lives in England and I live here, so it's kind of like me, and when she can manage it, she'll play a show with me, and she still plays flute and clarinet on Lost Harbour stuff when I get around to recording a new album. But I kind of had an itch to do something a bit more, and it's just like play electric guitar as well and be loud and obnoxious. And my partner Sabine was in a band called MMMM, which is kind of this electro clash, like electro punk band, you could say, who broke up in 2019. And so she was kind of at a loose end, and the bass player from that band was at a loose end, and we were talking about making a disco project. Because we just had this idea of making fun music for people to dance to. And then we kind of got together and started playing and jamming a little bit, and we kind of realised that none of us were good enough to play disco. Because, yeah, you have to be very talented to play disco. So we scrapped that idea, and it turned out that we all love post-punk, and a lot of sounds like that came from that, like, 80s explosion of music, which came out of punk. So we just started like playing some stuff together, and we realised that actually we had like a lot of ideas we could play with. And Anete has like got a really nice feel for playing those sorts of bass lines, and it just kind of naturally evolved. It was really nice because it just like, yeah, it just kind of naturally grew out of us playing together. I suppose that's really all I can say about it.
That sounds like some kind of mix of electro clash and noise, maybe something.
No, I'd say it's more. It's really like came out of like post punk, like Joy Division, This Mortal Coil, like that sort of era of music. Early Sonic Youth.
I was about to say yes, some no wave.
Yeah, like no wave stuff. I would even say, because we have to use a drum machine because we don't have a drummer. Like when we started like talking about that, I was like, all right, yeah, we should listen to some Big Black. And then, yeah, I think like other elements have been built in. The more we've gone on, the more we've ingratiated ourselves with each other, and how we've just wanted to play more with the sounds that we can create. So I mean, even like there's bits and pieces from like OK Computer, Radiohead have been put in there, and like say like Pixies and sort of grungy sounds. So it's like this sort of gamut of like 80s and 90s indie, I suppose, just like smashed together. And stuff that we all love as well. So it's really come about like making music that we love, making music out of stuff that we love, and enjoying the process of making it, and making music that we actually enjoy listening to.
So we're looking forward to listen to it. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So we released one single last year. We were like rehearsing a lot, and we started recording everything that we did. We recorded one song, mixed it, and then sent it off to get like final mix and master. And we made a music video at home with a green screen, and just like got a bit drunk and goofed off in front of the green screen.
Okay.
Made a music video out of that. And
We will put links to all of this.
yeah,
In the...
I think the thing is, like, we just wanted to make music for the fun of it and enjoy the process, because sometimes when you start doing these things over a longer period, it becomes very serious, because it becomes such an integrated part of yourself.
Yeah, but yeah.
And you want to go back a little bit to when it was like fun and silly.
Fun, silly, and some sort of therapy. But yeah, there is a difference between the musicians who think they are become serious about themselves, but not about the music.
Yeah.
Different. So this is where stands the difference.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think like when both Sabine and I are in like long-term projects. Like, does Waterflower, and I've been doing Lost Harbours. So it was like a welcome holiday from both of those things. And for me, it was like a chance to get up and play electric guitar, and as I said, be loud and obnoxious, and play with distortion and fuzz and stuff.
Fuzz, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been hearing of it. There will be first tests on that channel. As far as you can remember in your recollection, in your memories, what is the first memory linked to music when you were a child?
It was my mum singing in a choir.
Really?
Yeah. So so my early memories are of her singing in a church, like a church choir. And I mean, she would have been singing in a choir when I was in the womb as well. But yeah, like those are my earliest memories of music, basically like choral singing in churches. I mean, we were never a religious family, but she loved singing. I mean, she grew up playing violin, and her father was a violin player. She learned how to play piano, and like later in life, she became a teacher, but she never lost, being engaged with music in that way. So, yeah, it was her singing in the choir, but also her having piano lessons as well, which when I was very early I would pester her for, and eventually, I think at the age of 4 or 5 or something, I eventually started learning to play piano.
Okay.
So yeah. No, I remember sitting with my dad in the pews while she was in singing in the choir, and we'd play like battleships on a piece of paper. The grid game where.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And while she was singing.
Okay, thank you, Richard, and so thank you everyone for watching, and a huge thanks for watching, and we hope to see you very soon on that channel. Bye bye.